please welcome to the stage our first guests. Amazing that they are. Rabia and Rafael from Crazy Games. They're talking about 2025 and beyond, how web will redefine gaming. Give them a round of applause.
Let's start with the introduction. So my name is Rafael Morgan. I'm the VP of Partnership at Crazy Games. I've been working in the gaming industry for 15 plus years, most of them on web games. I've seen the good times, the dark times, and now the real good times that are about to start in the gaming industry. There's some really cool things that are happening that we're gonna share. So we wanted to make this today the format a little bit different. That's more conversational, and we share some of the perspectives that we see on the web gaming industry. We have a lot of partners here, and also across all continents, and we're seeing really a transformational point in terms of technology and also sort of content and users. And then I just want to share some of the stuff that we're seeing, right, Rabia?
Mm-hmm. And my name is Rabia. I've been working as a publishing manager on mobile, on the web, and I really love the data side of the gaming, of all the data behind the fun. And I know that most of you have been hearing about AI this year, and the second buzzword has been the browser gaming. And as one of the biggest web gaming platforms, we wanted to share some insights with you guys.
Yeah, and there is something about AI here coming too. So, so just to talk a little bit about Crazy Games, right? We are, I would say, a global platform. Most of our audience is actually based in the US and other tier 1 countries. We are about 45 million monthly active users. This week, breaking the records again, right? We're been growing really, very nicely in the past 2-3 years. A lot has to do with the content that we're adding, but also with the changes that we are developing together with partners, and that being even game engines or even providing feedback to browsers. We have a community that I'm very proud to say of over 3,000 developers, and from here ranging, from indie hobbyists, somebody that's making their first projects and actually are able to find an audience of people, tens of thousands of people who wants to play their game without spending a single cent in user acquisition, through developers that are based here in Finland with established company, multiple people working on the project. I think the one point that I'm so fascinated about the web is that if we think about it, everything that in terms of technology has been moving to the web, right? I do my video calls. I used to have Skype. I mean, before we had phones, even without screen. Now we had
You're
Skype.
You're showing your age.
And now we're doing calls on the browser. Same happens to it's like your communications, right? You don't need native applications. You can use. I use the web version of WhatsApp as well. Photoshop is moving to the web, more and more. And the AI happens on the web, right? This is what we're seeing this. And I think this is fascinating. I think we're very, it makes sense that mobile is so big, right? There's so much money in that. But if you think about where really technology is beautiful, it's actually on the web, right? And the reason why is not because I'm here a nice guy just, talking this stuff. It's simply because it just makes sense. It's easier for you to access because you just click a link and it opens. You don't have any installation. It works in every single device. If I'm actually creating something and I will send it to you, I click it on a link and I send it to you, and then boom, you're actually seeing it without having to do any installation, without having to go any walled gardens, without having to share any revenue, right? And I think that's actually the beauty about the web, and that's where we're so excited about talking about this. And for games, right, there's technical challenges for it. There has been a lot of technical challenges. I mean, I think we all remember the golden time when Steve Jobs actually killed Flash, right? It was very dear to me, it just killed Flash. And that's why a lot of this stuff has been kind of put it on hold. But I think now we're about to change, right? Lots of the movements are going towards the web. And I think that's the power of the web. That's why I think more people should be looking at that.
Yeah, I mean, as a user, what I really like is like I can share any game I'm playing, invite my friends in seconds and play with my friends. But on the developer side as well, if you are looking for doing your game pitches or looking for investors, etc., instead of describing what are the characters, what is happening in the game, you can just share the link of your game, which is way more impressive. Plus, if you're an indie developer, you don't need any UA budget. The game is already reaching to millions of players. You can share data with the investors, which is obviously a huge plus when you're pitching the game.
And I think that's also something that Crazy Games now we're forking up. I didn't bring this on the presentation, but I can mention this a bit. So we just released the Crazy Games app, because obviously there's an audience there. There's a lot of pros about being native and being there. So we released that. But it's gonna be this mega app with 3,000 games, right? All in your fingerprint. It's approved. It's live, and we actually. And we also work with, we publish some of our games in other platforms as well. And everything is just simply one build, one SDK. You're done. You don't need to build for different OSs and these things. So I think some of other stuff that is important to highlight here is there's the studies. There is something that was called Think with Google a while back, where they talk about the market size, and it is growing. We see this Crazy Games is going like crazy, but it's also we see other partners also having success, and I think that's something that we want to see more. At the same time, it's all known in Crazy Games, right? It would be easy to say come and work. Okay, can I go back to that one?
Yeah.
If I go back and talk just about Crazy Games, but right now, on top of my mind here, there's Crazy Games, there are YouTube playables, there is chat, there's Telegram, there's MSN, there's Reddit, there's Facebook games, there's Yandex games. There's how many other options you have versus having two guys working, So I think that's kind of where the beauty about the web. Maybe your game works for Crazy Games, maybe it doesn't, but I'm sure you'll find your audience. If you're more mature, you might go more to Facebook games. But and I think that's sort of the thing that we see in web games. Our mission is actually to create a place where all sort of content is actually available. So every person will find something that they like, and that's what we're striving for. All right. So just to talk a little bit about it, again, this is it's not our data. This comes from this study made by Google. Is that there's people there, the typical casual game, the typical HTML5 gamers. There's people that are more the match 3 type of game. We have a lot of MMO players these days. I mean, the German always had this history about this big old MMO players, right? That happens on the web. And then there's a lot of other stuff that. We're seeing these beautiful, more mid-core games are coming, and they are also changing the audience. And I think that's something that we would like to talk a second about, which is sharing some of our observations and stuff that that we're seeing, right? Is that the one thing is that it's always the chicken and the egg once you're building a platform. You're always trying to, you want to have more users, so the more users you can have, the more games you manage to bring, because there'll be more people playing it, right? So size matters a lot for a platform. But the one thing that we've been doing a lot recently is bringing more games that are focused on the in-app purchase. And we're partners with Xsolla here. And we're seeing a rise of in-app purchases, right? It's not just us. There's other platforms that are also doing this, web gaming platforms. And everybody's looking at this in-app purchase. And it makes so much sense, right? The revenue is much higher. And by being able to provide this sort of revenue, what happens is wonderful, because now we're being able to bring different type of experiences, bigger, more, I would say, more in-depth sort of games that historically were not available on the web, right? And by doing this, we actually bring a different type of audience. So that's what we see on Crazy Games. We see the fastest growing, web games has historically been something that's popular among young children, people that play on school. This is how I used to play, right? But by adding this different type of content, we start seeing other different audiences growing on the web. And being the 35 plus male like myself, right? It's actually, the fastest growing segment on Crazy Games at the same time. We also see the same for female players as well, right? And I think that, again, it goes again to, it's more than just casual game these days. I think there is opportunity for nearly all type of content. And I think we are also going to break some other barriers, right, by going forward with this sort of strategy.
Yeah, and this also leads to lots of studios creating a web gaming department as well, because as users are spending more money on a platform where it has been free to play before, they expect more content, more things to do inside the game. So the studios, as a result, since they are earning from this, they keep investing more to the gameplay, to richer experiences. So this is how the whole industry is actually growing on the web.
Yeah, and I think a lot has to do as well with like technology, right? And how much this has been impactful. You know, there has always been game engines that are focused on the web, right? They have like Construct, they have Play Canvas, which used to be owned by the guys from Snapchat here, Cocos. But now we start working together, with developers that work with Unity. I mean, we had a big game jam together with Unity last year. And then, they've been developing a lot of new things that make web games more functional, that actually make them to be smaller, which is a huge part of about being successful on the web, right? But we also having conversations with the guys from Godot, for instance. They are pushing an update for next year that would also focus on the web. Game Maker. So all those game engines, they're talking to us, right? They want to know about the players, they want to know what's happening, and they are building features because all of them support web, right? And I think this conversation is not just around crazy games. It's around other platforms, and it's also about developers trying to build their own authority, their own community, and talk directly to those users, right? And this is the beauty and why the web is so nice. The other part, which I think it's really exciting, right? It's about WebGPU. So Crazy Games was the first platform, at least that I know, to release a game commercially with based on WebGPU. And WebGPU is I'm not a technical person, so yeah, my knowledge goes so far. But from what I understood working together with many engineers, is that it actually enabled a different type of experience on the browser. And here we're looking like something more console-like visually experiences, right? And again, it's a one movement that pushes another thing, right? So the game engines like Unity, they start, bringing this, and they're still developing this stuff. But other game engines are now supporting these things, right? And this has also been driving a different type of content. So now you have more visually appealing games that actually are happening on the web, right? And another big change that happens is with the release of the new iOS 26, right? Now Safari, even on mobile, supports WebGPU by default, something that was not the case. So we have nearly, I would say, universal support for WebGPU, right? So the technology is evolving. There is a clear movement towards better games made for the web. And with this, what will happen, I'm pretty sure, is a different type of audience will be on the web as well. The players who like to have more visual appealing, this more developed type of games, and this is a movement that it's taking place at the moment as well on the web, right?
That's the beauty of it. Right after this talk, you can just go to crazygames.com and test these games.
And I think the last point that I want to talk about it, and here it's a bit of also a bit of an opinion, but it's also a bit of an announcement as well, right? Again, the AI, the way we use it, it's all web-based, right? It's all it runs on your browser, and I think that's what's happening right now. We will be seeing new browsers that have AI by default being part of it. From there, you can only imagine, that if your browser can see, if AI can see what your browser is doing, it will be able to provide feedback on what you're actually making it, right? And from there, at some point, it will be able to play with you. Why not, right? If we actually can act on this. And with all that, right, and here is a lot of, I would say, personal opinions on that. But Crazy Games is about to announce a big partnership with an AI company next week. So yeah, please, I cannot talk the name yet, but it's something that I think will change a lot of things for web games and gaming as a whole.
Yeah, so in any, let's say, AI platforms, if you want to see your games, Crazy Games might be the easiest access to these platforms because we'll be working with them directly. So any of your games that you want to distribute, it's going to be available on those platforms.
Yeah, and I just want to kind of like put it, if you think about starting on web games, I think there are some of the 5 points that I consider to be the most important ones, right? It's really check the game engine that you want to work. There are different options for different sort of like type of content you want to bring. I think one thing that you should not consider is optimization. Game size matters because like obviously you have this readiness of the user to play. You don't want to have a 250 megabytes game that takes 2 minutes to load. You want to make it really fast. Understand what web players what do they expect, right? It goes again, like if you have a lengthy tutorial, if it takes very long for them to play a game, to get started, they might just leave. So we really try to make it, as easy as possible for them to get into action immediately. There's, again, going to multiple platforms and really trying to capture like the right audience for you. And then actually looking at different monetization options that are available. Historically, the web has been has been mostly driven by by ads, and now we're looking at in-app purchase and so on, and other stuff that will follow, like subscription. And I think this is I would like to just, before I open for QA, it's actually just read the sentence because that's how I really feel strongly about it, that the web is one of the last open space for developer where every game has a chance to succeed, from the small guys to the bigger ones. Not only the big back budgets that actually can spend money with UA. So check it out.
And one last thing, most of the developers, they ask us, what is trending? What type of game we should bring to Crazy Games? What can I develop from scratch, etc.? The good thing is the answer is not a secret. If you just go to Crazy Games, the top games there, it is all totally based on the user reaction. So the top games that are always changing, every day is changing, it is based on what users are looking for, what they are searching for, what they are playing and rating positively. So you can always check what is trending, especially in the US, just by checking the platform. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. A round of applause, please. Now, do we have any questions for these wonderkind in the realms of Web3? Web game making. Yes, we've got a question at the back. Can we pass it? A microphone is coming. A microphone is coming to you. Toot the sweet.
Thank you. Yeah, do you see me? Hello. I just wanted to ask how Crazy Games could compete with those websites which now provide, these marketplaces with cloud storage with AAA games where you just pay like €5, 10 euros per month. You could play, I don't know, Cyberpunk or whatever. And why they should go to Crazy Games instead of this? Why, especially the CA should choose.
So you mean more like cloud gaming, like where they actually, or what do you mean? What type of websites you mean?
So
the
like
websites, the cloud marketplaces, where you could go, just pay and play any game without downloading, without waiting, without anything. Why they should choose you, not them?
I mean, it's always good that you have options, right? What I think our players actually really like on Crazy Games is how neat the experience is, how much new content we bring on, like there as well, or where they can find communities as well, right? And I think that's one of the really strongest things on Crazy Games is like the curation that we put on the platform, and that the experience is good and simply works. I think, if you want different type of content, I mean, sure. But what we see is our community actually is growing, and they like what we're doing. So I don't really feel that we really compete too much, to be honest.
I mean, you don't need to choose. As a user, for me, I don't want to go to one platform and play one type of game. obviously, if there's a community, if I'm playing with my friends, then that might be one thing. But on Crazy Games, you have multiple games and multiple multiplayer games as well. So we have our own community, and the good thing, it's like, okay, now I want to play a new game. I like it, I want to invite a friend, so I can just invite my friends. As a developer, I think you don't need to choose. You can choose Crazy Games, you can choose these platforms or other platforms. The goal, I think, in today's world for a studio is to be sustainable and to survive. So I think the answer is just, you need to put your eggs in lots of baskets. Yeah. So Crazy Games is one of them. For me, it is one of the best, so, but I might be biased.
Thank you very much indeed for the question. That was amazing. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Rabia and Rafael.
And if you have more questions, we are in B1 and in our booth. So
and thank you for sponsoring the track today. Thank you. Really appreciate it. Thank you.